club. Keith, we're going to start, of course, with Everton. That 777 deadline has now expired, as we potentially expected. Were you surprised, Keith? What are your general thoughts?
Yeah, look, I can't say that I'm surprised, to be honest. I think it was pretty well telegraphed that 777 were in a heap of trouble, and it would have led to very great difficulty, I think, in raising more funds from potential new funders. It does seem that they've hit the end of the road now in terms of the opportunity at Everton. Although, as I did say, I think that you never say never. They've still got 200 million into the company, so it's not an insignificant amount of money. But I think in terms of them being able to complete the resources required by the Premier League to take over, I think is now a real long shot. But they still have the respect of 200 million at the table, which I'm sure people will understand is a significant amount of money in NB's terms. But I don't expect 7-7 to really come back. But they are going to be part of any solution that has to come forward, even though they're well down the list of security required from the debtors. They'll still have a seat at the table to some degree.
And I mean, Keith, now that they are out of the picture of how long that is, as you've kind of said, how quickly can Everton start exploring new options? And do we expect a new deal to be done over the summer? Could it be a case of 3 months? Could it be as long as it has been again? What's this next timeline for Everton, do you think?
Well, really, this is the puzzle right now. My gut feeling is going to take the whole of this next season to get the whole thing resolved. I think there'll be a short-term fix to get the debt situation stabilized and to get the cash flow for the club stabilized. But I think it may well take this whole season to get to the final solution. And I think any new potential owner or major investor will want to come in as the new stadium opens for the start of next season. So that's what I think will happen. I think there could well be some short-term activity with MSP and other potential debtors right now to stabilize the club, which I think would be the right thing to do. They've then also got to solve the PSR issues that are still outstanding. And I think if those two things can be done and we retain Premiership status, then the club will be in a very good position. There'll be a very attractive opportunity. And I think that's where we can expect to see things develop. I do believe that things are, all discussions are happening right now. There's a lot of things going on, I do believe, in the background. There will be new people looking at the club now. I know that there's been interest from certainly in the States and some other groups. So we'll wait and see just how that unfolds. But I think the immediate crisis should be over. And I think that certainly I'm pretty more positive about things turning out in a more positive way as we go through the season.
So, Keith, even with the potential debt at the club that is existing, that you don't think that will put bidders off at all? You think actually the proposition of the new stadium and football going forwards actually is more attractive from that perspective?
Yeah, I've always felt that the debt is, well, it's at the top end. I don't think it's anything that can really derail potential investors. I think as long as it's structured over a longer period of time, I think interest rates overall will probably stabilize a bit lower in the coming months. So, the mistake made was probably Mr. Mashiri not actually finalizing a whole package for the stadium at the time he did when interest rates were low. And so, he's had to go through some pretty rough times in the last few months, as we've seen, and turn to people like 777. But I think a new group will come in, I think, to stabilize at lower interest rates, extend the credit out. And with the new stadium, I think the club's going to be worth well more than the debts are at the moment.
I mean, Keith, do you think 777 will want those £200 million in loan repaid immediately? Will they be seeking that at this current moment? And actually, could that cause any potential problems at the club or for the new owners that could come in?
Well, the potential problem would be if 777 themselves and the lawsuits that they're involved in create a sort of an overlap into Everton in the sense that, for instance, there's one big lawsuit that's had a lot of coverage recently from Leadenhall in the UK. And if that was to turn from a civil case, or if the US regulators got involved in the criminal case, then they might try and recover the 200 million from Everton in some way. How that would be done, is yet to be seen. But potentially it could have some impact. But again, I believe there would be people that would step in and they'd have to recover those assets in the 200 million in some way. And it's not yet clear whether that would be a reduced amount that would have to be paid. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think the chances of those sort of issues happening are very remote. So overall, I'm very bullish about the future.
And from the Premier League's point of view, I know we've discussed this, Keith, for months and months, and now it's finally happened. What do the Premier League need to do to avoid this situation happening again in the future, be it for Everton or for any other clubs that are going through a change in ownership?
I think they've got to work clearly with the owners of clubs, and they've got to put a time limit on how long these things can go forward. In a funny way, it may have suited Mashiri to have had it all go on longer and longer and have 777 paying money into the club rather than him paying it into the club. So that may have suited him. But I think there should be a timeline on bids, and I think that's what's got to be clear. And I've always thought 3 months, and then if they need to review it and then extend it, that should be fine. But there should be shorter timelines in terms of a bid process to give clarity for the fans. And I think that, all the staff, the players, the managers, etc., all need that sort of clarity as well. So I think the Premier League have a duty to try and safeguard the football product and not let the business side damage things, as we've seen has happened over this last year.
And are there any potential names you can mention that you know of that are going to be involved potentially in the takeover, or any consortiums that might be interested in taking over Everton?
Well, there are a couple, but I can't mention the interest from the States. But of course, the one that's been in the media that's had a lot of interest, of course, is John Textor from Crystal Palace. Now, what was intriguing about that bid is that just this last week, apparently he's in discussions with the Premier League to see if they could find a way for him to hang on to his Crystal Palace shareholding while he is divesting himself of that shareholding, and then allow him to go into Everton. Now, this could be something that could be done in terms of the way that the clubs like Man United and Man City are being allowed to play 2 teams in Europe. And that involves putting the shares into some sort of blind trust that he no longer controls. So in theory, there's a way that John Textor could actually do that somebody manages the Premier League, for instance, could manage that blind trust until the shares are sold, and he would actually have no say in Crystal Palace's management. That would possibly free him up to come and make a bid for Everton. So that's an intriguing possibility. It's not something I don't think's ever been done before, but it would allow potentially Textor to bid for Everton. Whether he's the right solution or not, I'm really not sure. I've got some questions about Mr. Textor, so we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. But I do know there are a couple of other groups that are very deep-pocketed, that are involved in existing sports franchises in the States, and hopefully they can come to the fore as well, because it would be good to get the best possible solution for the club going forward.